Well, yesterday we had Steve Russolillo on telling us about a report of rumors that there was an iPad mini coming, and we got the analyst who wrote that report to which Steve Russolillo referred. It's David Lutz. He comes from Stifel, Nicholas and Company in Baltimore, and he joins us on the phone now. Tell us more about what you know about this mini iPad rumor.
Hi, Simon. It's nice to be with you. Thanks for having me. Just so you know, we read a lot of news stories and chatter coming across either the tech blogs or on Twitter about a $250 to $300 iPad mini, and that seemed to concern some people on the street that could cannibalize sales with some of their higher margin products. And I think that was one of the components that had Apple a lot weaker, but I don't necessarily think that was the overall driving force behind it, Simon.
So not the overall driving force behind it, but I mean, Apple is so secretive in every way. Doesn't that sort of perpetuate rumors because they don't come out with stuff until the very last minute, until when they really have to? I mean, could this actually be a reality?
Simon, it absolutely could be a reality, but you're 100% correct that we've been hearing rumors coming, the rumor bill being fired up about all the different kinds of products that Apple would roll out, whether it's a TV, whether it's an enhanced remote control, or now whether it's the iPad mini. We've been hearing about iPhone minis the size of the iPod shuffles for years. So I think it was just chatter going around the blogosphere. I think one of the larger drivers behind the move was that a few firms, including ourselves here at Stifel, took down some net ad projections, basically wireless, new wireless customers at some of the carriers like AT&T and Sprint, just because some of our recent channel checks have been suggesting the wireless industry as a whole had been experiencing some slower growth in the first quarter. So I think that had some people nervous about the stock, and also I think there was a big move that NASDAQ had announced over the weekend, replacing First Solar (FSLR) with Texas Instruments in the NASDAQ 100. Now, how does that impact Apple, Simon? Well, it's because Texan is about 20 times the market capitalization of First Solar, which means all of the other constituents in the NASDAQ 100 is going to see their weightings dropping down, especially the higher cap ones like Apple and Google, when Texas Instruments comes in. And that is amplified by the fact, Simon, that there are so many ETFs that mirror the NASDAQ 100 and that have Apple as membership. So once you start getting some downside move, you had a lot of momentum to the downside, but it certainly seems like it's recovering nicely today.
David's trying to interpret the stock moves, and it's important, I think, for people outsiders, especially in the press, to remember that we always want to impute a stock move to something that happened at the company that's sort of easy to see and understand.
And basically we're hearing this is about rebalancing of an index
right, stuff
funds.
that's sort of happening in the background, has nothing to do with products. As far as the product chatter, you're talking about chatter in the blogosphere, I think what people were most excited about was the fact that John Gruber, who's an unusually plugged-in Apple blogger, said that he knew for a fact that Apple had played with a smaller form factor iPad, but that doesn't mean that they're making one. They've got all sorts of devices, presumably in their labs, that they have played with. Doesn't mean they're making
presumably
them.
They try out a lot of, David, presumably they try out a lot of items, new gadgets, and then decide whether they're ever going to be ready for market or whether they can just throw them in the dustbin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, especially now that Tim Cook has taken the reins from Steve Jobs, I think everybody is trying to anticipate the difference between the two management styles, where Steve Jobs was very focused on a couple of specific products and a couple of specific verticals. Everybody's trying to figure out what Tim Cook is going to do differently. And, right out of the gate, we got the dividend announcement from Apple, which is something that Steve Jobs had fought for a long time. So, everybody's very keyed on what the blogosphere is saying about Apple products. And, of course, Apple is such a widely held product base worldwide that, the Apple aficionados like myself out there, we love to hear about new things that could possibly coming down the pipeline as far as Apple's concerned.
Oh, yeah, people do love their Apple gadgets. We're afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, David Lutz from Stifel, Nicholas and Company in Baltimore. We really appreciate your time today.